President Biden spoke today in Las Vegas at the National Convention for the NAACP, while every Republican was busy speaking at the convention for the NAAWP.
Yes. And then they aborted 40% of the black population again this year. All right, the party of the Confederacy lives. It's an amazing bunch of people, aren't they? Stop shooting people. How about that? Just a thought. You see, they grabbed a Democrat in Milwaukee stalking the Republican convention with a ski mask, wearing a ski mask with an AK-47 rifle. That's a Russian-made communist combat assault rifle. Had the mini AK. They're calling it a pistol, but it's an AK-47, short barrel, short forward stock, no shoulder stock. It's just, so Democrats can pack it in their backpacks and then show up. You know how Democrats love a good surprise? Yes, they do. Well, happy Wednesday to you, and welcome. That means it's Mailbag Day. It's Mailbag Day here on the Chris Plant Show, and that it's Hump Day at the Clinton household. We do have a great many things going on with the Republican convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to name but one, and a lot of important speeches last night. The news media attacking everybody, including the surviving family members of women and at least one young man murdered by illegal aliens that the Democrats waved into the country because the Democrats are the left and they don't care about human life. They're not really human life people. Speaking of which, there is a Democrat mayor in Pennsylvania who is upset. It's a shame the guy missed, the Democrat mayor says. And he's not alone. There are a lot of Democrats out there who are really upset that President Trump wasn't murdered, wasn't assassinated. And, they're hopeful that more people will be killed soon because they're not liberals. They're the left. They're bloodthirsty jackals seeking to slake their thirst on the blood of innocents because, that's who the Democrat Party is. But I got this Democrat for you. I think he's a member of the Rainbow Coalition, too. He's got that going on. He's a Democrat, very angry. It's a shame the guy missed the Democrat mayor, elected official. Said we've also got Democrats out there all over the place. I mean, they're a bloodthirsty lot. I've been saying this for years, and they prove it all the time. They're proving it again right now. Now we've actually got people on Twitter, and I mentioned this yesterday, day before yesterday, but an amazing movement. Everything is a movement with these people. Maybe they're constipated. It could have something to do with their behavior, but that's why they turn everything else into a movement, I think. But a movement that very angry. The news photographer that shot the iconic photo, the photograph from mythology. Hollywood has never created such a political image in all their years of trying to make Democrats look good. And with President Trump being rushed off the stage, pumping his fist in the air, blood all over his ear and the right side of his face, the American flag luffing over his head. And there are Democrats calling for the murder of the photographer because the picture is so iconic that the bloodlusty gang of lunatics are literally talking about killing the photographer because they are insane. Just saying, your Democrat Party. And with that, there is, something I want to point out because I think it matters. And that is that President Trump was shot and nearly assassinated on Saturday. And I talked about it a lot yesterday. The crowd stayed absolutely calm and they chanted USA, USA. And there's new video out that I hadn't seen until this morning from kind of the back of the crowd, well into the crowd at least. And when President Trump goes down, the crowd is stunned, but they stay put and shots fired. And one man yelling, someone's been shot over here. Someone's been shot over here because, President Trump and 3 other people were shot. One was killed, the chief of the volunteer firefighters department in that town. And then and the crowd, when President Trump stood up and pumped it, and even before he pumped his fist, in fact, looking at this video, you see President Trump standing up. There's blood all over him because he's just been shot by a would-be assassin. And the crowd, they see him stand up because he went down, and there are shots fired. 8 shots fired, I believe, by the perp, and then shots fired in return by law enforcement, taking out the perp and some extra just for good measure. But when President Trump stands up, many in the crowd began jumping up and down with joy and pumping their fists in the air. And it may be that President Trump saw that, and that's when he began pumping his fist in the air. Extraordinary moments all over the place here. And the news media very bitter and resentful about it because they're insane. They're leftists. They're demented. So they're bloodthirsty. But I've got to say that yesterday I was texting with friends, with Michael Piercy and Rennie, with Kevin and with people. And one of the things, after noting yesterday that the crowd was so well behaved, so well mannered, that they did not stampede. No one was crushed and killed in a stampede of people. Everyone stayed put. People chanted USA. And then I saw this video today of people pumping their fists in the air, and some people literally jumping up and down with joy when they saw that President Trump stood up. And they could see that there was blood on him because his right side was facing the crowd. But it occurred to me yesterday that while President Trump was shot and nearly assassinated on Saturday, there have been no riots, no attacks on the police, no police cars burning, no storefronts looted, no police cars burning, no riots, no violence, no mob craziness, because we are the normal people. We are the good next door neighbors. We are the normal Americans. We're the people that serve in the military and become police officers and raise boys that become men and girls that become women. We're not the people that destroy the signs in front of your house and attack your car for having the wrong bumper sticker on it or having the wrong engine or being a Humvee. The Democrat Party is a violent mob of criminal lunatics that have been perpetrating all kinds of violence for a long time now, to the point where, we've kind of become accustomed to it. Remarkable times. But the Democrats, with all their normalization of mob political violence long before January 6th. And by the way, January 6th, they turned that date into a bumper sticker, January 6th. How about July 13th? Shouldn't we turn July 13th into a marquee date in American history on our calendar? It was July 13th when President Trump was shot and nearly assassinated at a rally, blood all over his face, coming off the stage with the crowd chanting USA. And it was kind of, in its own way, well, it was, let's just say, a remarkable moment in American history and American political history, certainly. July 13th, every time they say January 6th, respond by saying July 13th. They did, a racist police officer on Capitol Hill did shoot and kill Ashley Babbitt for the alleged crime of trespassing on January 6th, the only person that actually was killed on January 6th. But never mind that. They lie about that all over the place, too, don't they? Including Joe Biden. Oh, Joe Biden was pandering to the black vote again yesterday. And so much for that turning the temperature down stuff. He spent a good deal of the time attacking and smearing and slandering President Trump. But never mind that, because that's okay. But July 13th. Yeah, Ashley Babbitt served 12 years in the U.S. Air Force, then was shot and killed while unarmed by a police officer for the alleged crime of trespassing. And the Democrats applaud that. I believe they gave the police officer a medal. He's a black police officer. She was a white woman. It's the kind of racist killing the Democrats like very much. They brought us the old style racist killings too, the Democrat Party, but they're truly amazing people. These people, and I just want to point out: no riots, no mayhem, no arson, no attacks on the police or on police cars, no businesses looted and burned, as Democrats do every time, there's a criminal who dies while resisting arrest after committing yet another felony. And if they die of a drug overdose or cardiac arrest, the Democrat Party will still burn down 50 cities across the country, injure thousands of police officers, murder dozens of people, literally the statistics of the George Floyd riots, and billions of dollars in property damage. But yesterday I texted out to Michael and Randy and Kevin. What time was it? And I said, President Trump was shot in the head by a would-be assassin on Saturday and nearly killed. The crowd stayed calm and chanted USA. 3 days later, and it should be noted, there has been not one riot, no police attacked, no police cars up in flames, no churches torched, no businesses looted, because we are Americans and not leftists. They call themselves Democrats. And that is a gigantic and stark difference between us and them. Let me call them those people. Those people that riot and burn and loot and shoot and attack the police. We call them the Democrat Party, honestly. Amazing stuff. Days later, and now we're Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I speak English. And that's Apollonia. It's my Apollonia impersonation. But isn't that amazing? So Sunday went by, Saturday went by with no riots, Saturday night, and Sunday went by with no riots, and Monday went by, and then Tuesday, now here we are on Wednesday, and still no riots, and I'm not aware of any plans for riots. The Democrats would have already burned and caused millions and millions in property damage because they are not on our side. Boy, are they not on our side. Man, oh man, a Shevitz. Also in Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention is being held, police, they brought in a lot of police from out of town because you need extra police because Democrats might show up. Oh, the Jew haters were out in force yesterday in Milwaukee. They hate the Jews. The Democrat Party and they love calling everybody Nazis, and then they come out and march against the Jews and say the Jews should be wiped off the map, and then they call you a Nazi. It's no sense of irony, these people. It's that projection thing again. It's the Russian playbook, as was explained to us years ago by the Democrat Party. But police shooting that leaves one dead near Republican National Convention angers Milwaukee residents. When they say Milwaukee residents, they mean Democrats who are looking for another excuse to be violent. And it was a crazy person wielding apparently 2 knives and was a local crazy who was ready to stab everybody. And police from out of town from Ohio shot the guy and killed him. And the Democrats are very upset indeed. The remarkable stuff. Oh, yeah, and speaking of which, Joe Biden lied to the NAACP last night, that you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. Well, George Floyd died of cardiac arrest while resisting arrest. I know you threw the police officer in prison where he's been stabbed 22 times, and the Democrats applaud that because they're anti-police and pro-criminal. But Joe Biden repeatedly said last night to the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, just don't call black people colored people, otherwise you're a racist, but the NAACP, then it's okay because were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. And Joe Biden lied to them. You peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. Yeah, is that right? Donald Trump called for the National Guard to go after you. No, you guys were burning cities from coast to coast and restoring order. Should have happened, but you anarchists, on the other hand. What the hell's the matter with this man? Joe Biden said, stoking the flames of the lunatics on the left. We already know what they're up to. He also said that he got started at a historically black college, which was another lie that he told to the black voters. He didn't tell him he had hot sauce with him all the time, did he? Because, he ain't by no ways tired. Isn't that amazing? Remarkable stuff. Our Democrat Party. Oh, and also Iran. Turns out Iran funded by Joe Biden and Barack Obama. It turns out that our government has known about a plot to assassinate Donald Trump by Iran. You know how many we've heard about all the Iranians flowing in across our southern border. What could go wrong? The Democrat Party is the party of death, mayhem, anarchy, and let's not forget they gave us the American Civil War in 1861. Amazing people, these people. And we are at 888-630-9625.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy.
Also, surprise, surprise, the Republicans holding hearings on the assassination attempt, and they are calling them the J13 hearings, like the J6, January 6th hearings, calling them the J13 for July 13th hearings, and they will focus on bringing in Secret Service, FBI, DHS heads, and focusing on Democrat rhetoric that led to this, quite obviously. And Michael and I were just talking, we think they should subpoena Liz Cheney just to find out where she was that day. Put the screws to her, make her spend some money on lawyers. All right, let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Greg calling from Waldorf, Maryland. Gregory, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. How you doing today?
I'm great, Greg. What do you say?
Hey, great show, man. I listen to you almost daily. Just wanted to let you know, hey, you're really knocking them Democrats down this morning, exposing all of their stuff. They always talk like they so pro-blackity, black, but they really just want to slaughter blacks and destroy our country. And I just thank you for what you do, man. That's all the short and narrow I wanted to give you this morning.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you very much. It seems pretty obvious once you notice it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, and I just wish that more darker brown folks would listen to people trying to show them the facts versus getting in their emotions and staying with their slave masters that's been imprisoning them since.
The NSA got to your phone. They just knocked you out. Got you mid-sentence. Are you still there, Greg? Yeah, they knocked him out. That's right. I blame the Biden administration, Greg, for knocking your phone call out. Yeah, listen, Greg, I just like the truth. I like it when people are well-informed with the correct facts. The Democrats do not favor that. Greg, I'm sorry your phone skipped out there, but I thank you for your call and for paying attention and for wanting the truth instead of the BS that the Democrat Party peddles and that they've been peddling for so long now. The party of the Confederate States of America and Jefferson Davis, the party of Nathan Bedford Forrest, and the White Knights of the KKK, the party of Robert Byrd from West Virginia, the exalted Cyclops of the Democratic Party. They come up with these amazing titles, don't they, the Democrats? Now, let me share with you this because I was pleasantly surprised, I've got to say, when I saw this, and my friend Steve sent it, and I'm thankful, I'm grateful, because I had not seen it, as hard as I try to see everything. Here's the headline. This is a Fox News story. Florida Representative Mills, this is Corey Mills, who is a very interesting guy for a whole lot of reasons. Florida Representative Mills floats, quote, J13, end quote, style committee for Democrats' rhetoric following Trump assassination attempt. And this is an interesting guy who grew up in a hard scrabble life. That's a fun word, hard scrabble. Hard scrabble life, a lot like J.D. Vance with alcoholism and drug abuse in the house. He went and joined the military, became a colonel, United States Army, Special Forces, combat veteran, knows a thing or two about using firearms, and he's had a lot to say about the attempted assassination of President Trump on Saturday. which led to no riots and no looting and no arson because the Democrats weren't offended. But Republican Florida Representative Corey Mills floated the idea of a J13 committee styled after the Democrats' January 6th committee, after Democrats' anti-Trump rhetoric in the lead-up to the assassination attempt on the 45th president's life. And I got to say, Corey Mills, there's a lot good to say about the guy, and he did an interview, and the video is available online, talking about his upbringing being very much like J.D. Vance's upbringing, his household being very much like J.D. Vance's household, and a lot of amazing stuff. Now, we've got a couple of sound bites of one soundbite. We have one soundbite of Corey Mills talking about, and I love it. And Michael and I were talking about we were talking about it earlier. It turns out that at least Corey Mills was ahead of me, if not, and that's very unusual for Republicans to be ahead of anyone on most of these things. But good for them, because it's the J6 hearing, J6 where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed for trespassing. 12-year Air Force veteran shot and killed. One shot, one kill by the police, and the Democrats applaud. I think they gave him a medal, didn't they? They gave him an award. They're going to build a statue to him and replace the George Washington statue in Chicago, maybe with the cop that shot Ashley Babbitt and killed her for allegedly trespassing. But here is Congressman Corey Mills of Florida on the J13 Committee to look into the Democrat Party's behavior and their complicity in the attempted assassination of President Trump on Saturday, which led to no riots.
Where was the mistake made? How can we correct it in the future? Why was this actually done? But I think that this does warrant a J13 type commission where we can actually look at it and say, let's investigate and find out why this happened so it doesn't happen to anyone. This is not about a political thing. This is about, we had an attempt to assassinate a president. Mm-hmm. We really need to understand what a serious matter this is. And this was a milliseconds or millimeter difference between this being an attempt and this being an assassination.
That is a fact, Jack, and he's talking about the rhetoric of the Democrat Party from Joe Biden on down to the Pelosi's and the Schumers and their filthy, rotten sexual partners in the news media who have been fanning the flames, stoking the flames, and spreading the hate. Their main thing, the backbone of the whole Democrat Party operation, is hatred these days. But the story out of Milwaukee, Republican Florida Representative Corey Mills floated the idea of a J13 committee styled after the Democrats' January 6th committee. They had the executive producer, ABC News president, come in and produce it for TV for them. And they got one idiot Republican to be their little boy on a leash. And Liz Cheney, she's not in Congress anymore. And Michael Piercy said she should be subpoenaed, called before the J13 committee, just to, rough her up, give her a hard time. She'd spend like 12 hours there under oath being harassed. I think that'd be good. After the Democrats' anti-Trump rhetoric in the lead up to the assassination attempt on the 45th president's life, he said, look, I think we need to identify the hypocrisy here. That could take all day and even more. Whenever President Trump on January 6th said, go home peacefully, but he was upset about things. He doesn't have control of what people who are evil or have intent to cause bodily harm do, but said, but yet they ridiculed him, and they still utilize the J6 argument as a way to try to vilify Republicans, Corey Mills told Fox News Digital from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he said, well, what about other rhetoric that has been said by Maxine Waters? Get in the face of your elected officials, he said, paraphrasing California Democrat Representative Maxine Waters when she was encouraging her lunatic mental supporters to harass Donald Trump and all Trump supporters at the time, whenever you see them at a gas station or anyplace else. These people are, they gave us the first Civil War, and I would put nothing past them at this point. And Joe Biden, of course, saying, put a bullseye on Trump, put a bullseye. And we covered some of that yesterday because Lester Holt asked him about that, and he became confused and befuddled and fell down a flight of stairs because his brain, she's a no good. So remarkable things. And I think it is an excellent idea. The news media will attack them for having hearings on it because the news media is the most corrupt institution in the United States of America. And I can predict what they're going to do better than 90% of the time. They themselves cannot predict what they will do because they're unserious and they're dishonest and they don't follow the news and they have no interest in telling the truth. They are just party pimps and hoes. I don't want to, rule out the other side of that equation either, because some of them are party pimps and the others are party hoes. That's the thing about them. I'm telling you. And here's the news media. The Reuters news agency with the headline today: after Trump shooting, his supporters still fiercely oppose gun reforms. Gun reforms. See, they're like the Chinese. They've got a 100-year plan. The communist Democrats are. They've got a 100-year plan to do away with the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and then you're done. And that because they want to live in a state like North Korea where only the state, only Mr. Charlie, only the man has guns. And as one of the Obama White House officials said, they essentially agree with Chairman Mao that all power comes from the barrel of a gun. And that's why they want to make sure, because they love Chairman Mao. Multiple Obama administration officials expressed their admiration for Chairman Mao. And, hey, we essentially agree with Mao that all power comes from the barrel of a gun.
We know this is largely about power, that it's an adults-only, no-limit game. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, Ron Bloom from the Obama White House, they want to take your guns away because they essentially agree with Mao, who murdered between 50 million of his own people and 75 million of his own people because they believe that power comes from the barrel of a gun. Political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And they see this and they say, oh, this would be a good opportunity to advance. And Joe Biden was doing it yesterday at the NAACP where he was lying to black people again about everything. Just amazing stuff. And here's kind of now there's this lunatic who is calling for the iconic photo of President Trump, which is monumental. It is gigantic in scale and scope, this photograph, and of President Trump with the flag behind him, the blood running down his face, the Secret Service rushing him off stage. One of the most remarkable photos ever. And we were trading texts yesterday, as we do, because, we're in the communications business. And there's a Democrat out there who is calling for the photographer that shot that picture to be murdered because they have murder in their hearts. They're the left. They believe that political power comes from the barrel of a gun, and they want to take yours away so that you have no political power. That's kind of the overarching goal when it comes to all that stuff. Pretty amazing stuff. So we need to kill the photographer that took that photo because they recognize the iconic nature of the photo. And so they're angry about it, they're bitter about it, and because they're the left, they have murder in their hearts, and they want to kill the photographer that snapped the photograph. And that's considered to be perfectly normal behavior among these people, these Democrats. Just amazing stuff. And as a result, President Trump does the opposite. He goes the other way. And here's what President Trump is doing. A Trump-owned company now sells $299 sneakers with an image of his bloodied face after the rally shooting. Now, that's pretty amazing stuff. That's good marketing. That's very smart. And you got to love that because, you think you're going to go left and you go right. You think you're going to go up, you're going to go down. Speaking of which, Jack Black and his sidekick, Kyle Gass, may be deported from Australia because of a show that they put on there calling for the murder of President Trump. But that's okay because they're Democrats. Amazing stuff. So a woman who calls herself the only girl on the internet with a Twitter account showed the picture, posted the picture, the iconic picture of President Trump after being shot, pumping his fist in the air. And again, I looked at this video this morning of the immediate aftermath of the shooting, and a lot of people in the crowd, in the audience, when they see President Trump rise like the phoenix after being shot with the blood on his face, President Trump stands up, and he may have seen people in the crowd pumping their fists in the air because a lot of people, when they saw him stand up after all the shots were fired, and they saw him go down and grab the side of his head, when he stood back up with the Secret Service around him and the American flag over his head, President Trump looked out over the crowd and he saw a lot of people pumping their fists, and a lot of people had both their fists in the air, were jumping up and down. A lot of people just had one fist in the air, pumping their fist in the air. But the only girl, and then President Trump pumped his fist, and he may have been responding to the crowd. He interacts with crowds very well, as we know. So the only girl on the internet posted that photo, and she wrote, "They need to execute whoever took this photo, like, oh, brother." That's what she wrote. I think the Secret Service there should be a pre-dawn raid with battering rams and maybe a CNN camera crew in tow. What do you think? Maybe they should have a Newsmax camera crew because remarkable stuff. But President Trump, and I got to say, these shoes are going to be collector's items. Just immediately, they're going to be collector's items. Trump-owned companies selling $299. It's not $300. They're $299. Sneakers with an image of his bloodied face after the rally. The news media is attacking the gauze bandage that he has on his ear because, that's what they do. Remarkable stuff. And Joyless Reed on MSDNC attacking President Trump. Joe Biden attacking President Trump. It doesn't matter. How many hours had passed before they started attacking him again. The filthies. You can just call them filthies. I think that applies pretty well. Joy Reid says the media must not rewrite Trump as a victim and a hero because they're terrified and they live in terror of everything. Really, they should live in terror themselves. They're the ones shooting everybody all over the place. I am telling you. Man, oh, man. So we got, look at the clock. Look what I've done. I've done it again. And new details emerge about would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crook's family. And news on his sister and on him. In fact, a neighbor said that he couldn't tell whether Thomas Crooks was male or female. Couldn't tell whether that was a male person or a female person. Another clear sign that he was a Democrat before being shot in the head and killed. And we've got updates on the local police and the rooftop and the Secret Service, and it's all a mess. But And Trump shooter Thomas Matthews Crooks was quiet as a church mouse. Yeah, until he wasn't. The Secret Service boss, Tenacious D, Jack Black, Australia. All kinds of things to share, updates, and new news. Democrat elected official in Pennsylvania regrets that President Trump wasn't killed. Try harder, he says. Just Democrat Party rhetoric, no problem there. Now, the left all over the world throws their political enemies into prison and shoots them and kills them and all that stuff. The left, the biggest murderers in the history of humankind. Trump White House official Peter Navarro was thrown into prison by the Democrats over January 6th. We're going to have to throw a lot of Democrats in prison for J13 for July 13th and the J13 hearings coming up. Peter Navarro was released from prison today, this morning, after serving 4 months in prison because he defied a congressional subpoena claiming executive privilege as an advisor to the President of the United States, having to do with January 6th. And honestly, this is the stuff of the third world. The left is here. They're not liberals. They're not Democrats. They are the left. Man, I'm telling you, I'm looking at all the great callers on the big board here, but I'm looking at the clock too, and I would have to give somebody 40 seconds, and I don't want to do that because the news just broke about Peter Navarro to exit prison ahead of expected RNC appearance. And I got to say, Republicans maybe are starting to get better at this whole politics thing. Peter Navarro should be put on a private jet immediately, brought to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, should enter the arena in Milwaukee to cheers, the likes of which he thought he would never hear in his lifetime. Peter Navarro is set to be released from prison Wednesday after serving a 4-month sentence. It's now being reported he has been released. Refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena, just like Hunter Biden, who has not been arrested and is not going to prison for doing exactly the same thing, and he's not an advisor to the president and can't claim executive privilege. Can claim corruption, though.